Greetings, YouTube Nation. So, I had been wanting to cover the subject of this video for quite some time, but work and other personal obligations and other projects had interceded. So, now that I've had the personal projects taken care of and a pocket in my schedule, a downtime pocket in my schedule, made itself available, I I finally am going to cover this subject. Now, it could be like a touchy-feely subject because it is open. It could be open for debate, um, and you may agree with me on on what I'm covering. You may disagree with me, or we can agree to disagree. It's up to you. So, several months ago, I participated in a in-person live stream hosted by Dave Scott on Scott Rails, where Dave had used StreamYard for people to actually speak on a webcam. And in this live stream, I had mentioned, or I had brought up, that some of us, if not many of us, live in what could be considered a hobby shop desert. Now, I use that term because there are no hobby shops within immediate distance to me. Now, because this is a very important subject matter, I made dummy cards. So if you see me looking down from time to time, you'll understand. And you may hear a slight sound in the background because I'm just tossing the cards to the side. So, to get a geographical reference, I live in a hamlet in New York called Mastic. Mastic is approximately 70 miles from Midtown Manhattan. It's 2 to 2.5 hours by car, and it's 3.5 hours by commuter rail. Back in the day, and I'm talking at least 40 years ago, there were more hobby shops in Manhattan than you could shake a stick at. There were times when I would accompany my father to the city because he worked in the city and he always liked to travel to the city in the weekends, and I would tag along with him. And there was on West 45th Street, between 5th and 6th Avenues, there used to be 3 hobby shops. And I made a point of it, and Dad, rest his soul, entreated me to visit these hobby shops. Now there's only one, and that's Red Caboose. And he used to be on one side of 45th Street. Then he moved across the street into the space occupied by a different hobby shop, which folded. I think Red Caboose is on its way out, and considering that store's prices, I'm not going to miss him. So, now, again, it all depends on where you live. Where hobby shops, where being in close vicinity to hobby shops may or may not be an issue. Now, the nearest hobby shop to me is a New York Electric Trains in Mandeville, New York, which is between approximately 7 to 8 miles from where I live, a 15-minute drive. Good, but the bad is, like some hobby shops out there, they specialize only in Lionel, which doesn't do me any good because I'm an HO guy. There used to be approximately 20 miles from me, half an hour drive, a shop called the Wrong Island Railroad. And like New York Electric Trains, mainly Lionel. And they're no longer around. So, then there's also Trainland, which is the sister store to Train World. Trainland is in Lynbrook, New York, which is approximately 50 miles from where I live, 60-minute drive. Train World is in Brooklyn, which, like Manhattan, is approximately 70 miles away from me, 2-hour car drive or a 4.5-hour train ride. Now, Trainland does offer HO and N-scale locomotives, rolling stock, accessories, what have you, but they are mainly Lionel. Just as a trivial tidbit, Trainland was where Bobby Bacala got whacked in the final season of The Sopranos. He went to go buy the Blue Comet, and instead he bought the ranch. The other good thing about Trainland is that if I need McHenry couplers or if I need KD accessories, they got it. Now, as for my fellow YouTubers out there is Harrison, SMT Mainline. Harrison lives in Gatineau, Quebec. Gatineau, Quebec is connected by a bridge to Ottawa, Ontario. Ottawa is Canada's national capital. And his go-to is the Larkspur line. And you've seen several videos of him going to Larkspur line and showing, all of his haul. Larkspur line, as it turns out, in relation to Gatineau, Quebec, is an approximate 60 to 90 minute drive. And it's approximately 55 miles. And, that is an incredible schlep. Dave lives in Ancaster, Ontario, and which is a suburb of Hamilton, Ontario. His go-to is St. Catharines, is a shop in St. Catharines, Ontario called Tiny Railroads. Now, you would think it's a hop, skip, and a jump for Dave. It isn't, because it's an approximate an hour drive and an approximate 50-mile drive. So, even that is a schlep. There is one other shop in, a couple of other hobby stores near me. Not necessarily near me. There's Willis Hobbies, located in Mineola, New York, approximately 50 miles from where I live. Approximately, it's an hour, give or take, depending on traffic. They used to have a lot of HONO scale stuff, but they changed ownership, and the new owners phased out everything but the Lionel. So, if you're not Lionel, then you're SOL. There's also the Nassau Hobby Center in Freeport, New York. They're about 45 miles from where I live. approximately an hour drive, but they are mostly Lionel. I found a few HO stuff, but um, it just didn't fit my needs. Now, I have nothing against hobby shops. I like visiting hobby shops, especially when I'm on the road. I want to take, I like to, I beg your pardon. Whenever the family and I are on the road, if I know that there's going to be a hobby shop near where we're traveling, I'm gonna, see if I could stop there, and hopefully not annoy my family in the process. But again, I have nothing against hobby shops. While you're trading off the cost of gas for the cost of shipping, um, you know, the shipping comes into play if the item is not in stock, if it's on back order, if it's pre-order. Um, some hobby shops are scale specific. Case in point, the shops that I've mentioned. Uh, now, uh, the other thing with hobby shops is that for some items you are paying the manufacturer's suggested retail price, but depending on the store, they could have a clearance. They could have clearance items, which is a bonus. And I am aiming this video towards people like myself who are on a budget, who love the hobby but don't want to put too much of a dent in their checkbook or go really deep in hock to their credit card company. Uh, but with some hobby shops, they will deal in. You could come upon a hobby shop that could specialize in pre-owned items. And I can think of two stores right off the top of my head that I have visited. And I'm not talking about Larkspur, because I have yet to visit Larkspur. There are two stores that come to mind that I have visited. That's Times Trains of Connecticut and Bernie's Model Railroad. And Bernie's Model Railroad is in Jessup, Pennsylvania. Bernie's a wonderful guy. You've seen the video with the Hudson that I got it from Bernie. And I'm going to list the address for both Times Trains and Bernie's in the description of this video. So, if you're not near a hobby shop, if you can't find the time to visit a hobby shop, what are your options? So, there are, I am going to stress that no one of these alternatives is better than the other. There is no be-all, end-all to to these alternatives. And again, you can agree with me, or we can agree to disagree. And as far as alternatives go, there are options that I am not going to cover. I will not cover Mercari, Etsy, Craigslist, thrift shops, and consignment stores. And I say these items because the availability is hit or miss. You could luck out. I've lucked out with Craigslist a few times, but you take your chances. Craigslist is also cash only. Um, and with Mercari and Etsy, it's really tricky. Uh, I mean I've looked at Mercari and it's like people have ordered, people have them in their carts, or uh, it it just I'm not going to cover it. I'm also not going to cover Menards and Amazon. Menards and Amazon are big box stores, even though Amazon is a online big box store. But they just have a department for model trains. These are not hobby specific stores. They just happen to have, oh, you're looking for model trains? There you go. Click here. No. Uh, I'm also not going to mention Hobby Lobby because the selection is quite limited, and whatever selection that they do have sucks. Lastly, I'm also not going to cover Temu and AliExpress. While everything's while all these model trains are basically made in China or have components that are made in China, would you seriously buy model trains from someone in China? Come on. I'm also not going to cover the manufacturer's website, and I mean Bachman, Mike's Train House, Tower 55, to name a few, because the option is always there for everyone to buy their model trains there. If you want to get, if there's something that you want that has all the bells and whistles, then that option is always there. Of course, you're going to have to do what the manufacturer suggested retail price, pre-orders, and back orders. And I'm going to repeat myself, but this video is basically geared for brothers and sisters on the budget. So, option number one, eBay, otherwise known as Dr. Evil Bay or Thief Bay. Thief Bay. Now, this is first on the list because eBay is a wellspring of locomotives, rolling stock, accessories, parts, name it. And their selection far outpaces the alternatives, which I will list, which I'm going to mention. And those alternatives are Facebook Marketplace, train shows, swap meets, hobby stores. It's just, you could spend an eternity on eBay just shopping. eBay is also has also made it feasible for several e-tailers with their own websites to list their stores on eBay. And I'm going to go over those e-tailers. Now, the downside to eBay is that there is no uniformity in pricing, and some of the pricing, some people price these things like it's their ticket to retirement, or they're just high on drugs. I mean, seriously. The one thing that I'm not too crazy about with eBay is the shipping. And the shipping is like Sure, the price is affordable, but I mean, the price of the item is nice, but the shipping, oh my God. And this is within the United States. You gotta be kidding me. And the one thing that used to be cool about eBay, which isn't, is that not only do you have to factor in the shipping, you also have to factor in tax. Didn't used to be like that back in the day. Now you got to be careful. Now, your other option are the e-tailers. And I'm going to list the e-tailers over here. Or maybe over here. Now, some of the e-tailers are Horizon Hobbies, which also happens to be the parent company of Athearn. You have Nitro Hobbies, Trains.com, Model Train Market, Midwest Model Railroad, and Model Train Stuff. The pricing can be better, or could be somewhat better than eBay. Shipping costs are more reasonable than eBay. And you can deal with, why bother with eBay when you can deal with them directly on their own website. The one downside to the e-tailers is the availability of items. Some things could be out of stock, on back order. Some could have it in stock, but maybe for a less than reasonable price. But if it's on back order in one spot on one e-tailer, chances are it could be available on another e-tailer's site. Now, my next alternative is Facebook Marketplace, and there are several buy and sell groups. There are more model railroading buy and sell groups on Facebook than you can shake a stick at, and I belong to several of them. There are, items that you see in one buy-sell group could be cross-posted into another buy-sell group, and the seller is only looking to get these items sold, and you can make, and depending on how the sale goes, you can make a new friend or you can make a new enemy. And I say that because I got burned on a purchase, but fortunately the purchase was done through PayPal, and I was able to get the money back, much to this seller's chagrin. But I reported the seller to the admins, and he's banned. But that was several years ago. The pricing on the buy and sell groups is slightly more reasonable than eBay. You don't, the shipping is reasonable, and you don't have to pay tax. And it's a good tide over in between swap meets and train shows. Now, as far as the downside to these buy and sell groups in Facebook Marketplace, you won't find as many items for sale as you would on eBay and e-tailer, train shows, swap meets, what have you. There you have some vendors that don't want to deal with PayPal. They prefer, they much rather do an in-person sale with cash, or you send them a check or a money order. In my entire time that I have used Facebook Marketplace and the buy and sell groups, I've only used a money order once, and that was the Rust Bucket Trainmaster. Otherwise, it's just PayPal. And now, as far as shipping goes with Facebook Marketplace, the shipping cost has to justify the purchase. And it sounds a little bit twisted, because if it's an item that catches your attention, then is it worth the shipping to make that purchase? And I could think of two items that come to mind. There's the River Rossi Hudson that I bought from Bernie, which was featured in my first unboxing video. And that came from Pennsylvania, so the shipping was very reasonable. And there also was my Lima FP45 in Via Rail livery, which I bought from a nice gent all the way in British Columbia, Canada. I paid postage. I paid the postage to have that thing shipped from Northwest Canada, because I wanted it, and because it was one of my my wish list items. So the shipping justified the purchase. Now, as far as PayPal goes, PayPal is safe and secure, especially when you use the goods and services option. Because if anything goes wrong with the sale, if you get burned, if something is damaged, arrives and it's damaged, it got damaged in the shipping, or this wasn't the droid I was looking for, then you reach out to the seller and say, hey, what's going on here? If the seller is reasonable, then you will get a refund, either in full or in part. If the seller tells you go climb a tree, then you have that protection. But you take your chances if you pay by check, if you pay by cash, money order, Venmo, or Cash App. Now, of course, if you're at a show or a swap meet, you use cash. But you take your chances. You can't bring it home and it's damaged and everything. You have no recourse. It's on you whether you want to fix it or not, throw it in your parts drawer, or sell it off to someone else. Now, my last alternative are the train shows and the spot meets. And it's like a massive meet and greet of vendors and buyers. You can make a friend with the vendor. You can make friends with other buyers. It's also an exciting opportunity to see what's new, what's for sale, what could be had for a reasonable price. And if you may find that vendors who are willing to work with you on a price. Um, some people are, some vendors are like, that's the price, take it or leave it. Or they'll give you a break. Or if you buy multiple items from the same vendor, then that vendor may knock something off the top just to make the sale. Because you have to remember, folks, these vendors, these people who come, who pay for the tables to set up their model trains and accessories, whatever. It takes time for them to load up their vehicle or their U-Haul and then schlep over to the location of the show. And then they gotta unload these items and then arrange them so, for that curb appeal, so that people will stop at their tables. But you have to remember, these people are pricing these items to sell because they don't want to have to load the stuff back up. They're not there just to stare at the four walls. The one thing about that there could be an issue with of the train shows and the swap meets is a pricing disparity. You may find one table that's selling a boxcar for like $5, and then you see the same boxcar at another table, and they're selling it for $7. There is that price disparity. It could be, they're using whatever to base their pricing on. If it's priced reasonable, if it's priced low, they're trying to it's because they're trying to move the inventory. They want to clear that inventory out to make room for new inventory, or to bring stuff from the totes and boxes underneath the tables. But of course, you can always go into those boxes and crates underneath the tables, as I have. If the vendor doesn't object, dive in. And some events may be scale specific. And I say that because the two swap meets that are nearest to me, and that is an approximate 30 to 45 minute drive from where I live. They are mostly it's table upon table of Lionel and O gauge, and I have nothing against Lionel O gauge. I don't run it. I run HO. So you'll find a few HO scale pockets, and you will find people who, and if your scale is N, if you're an N scaler, you may find some N scale at these swap meets as I have. And the other issue that I have with swap meets is that they're seasonal. The swap meets that I go to ended in June. One swap meet ended in March, and they won't kick up again until September. One swap meet that I regularly attend just had their last swap meet in June, 3-month hiatus, and then they started up again. And there will be a video on my haul from that swap meet. Quite exciting. As for the train shows, it's when they're in town, it's a matter of your scheduling availability, if you can make the show. Of course, there's also the budgetary reason. If you want to go, if you have the time to go, but don't have cash on hand uh, to go, then you can't go. And then what are you left with? Well, I've just given you your alternatives in this in this video. So there you have it. I've given you tips for survival in the hobby store desert. You're more than welcome to post a comment in this for this video. I'd like to know how you feel. You could think that I'm bang on, right on the money, or you could say you're right, or you could also say, are you out of your freaking mind? Why did you even bother taking the time to make this video? It's up to you. Freedom of choice. I'd like to hear what you think. And with that being said, I'd like to thank my subscribers for their continued support. If you're not a subscriber, there is a link in the bottom right-hand corner. Please like and share. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.